like now the times that we're in, and with everyone with senses being so heightened, and just racial tensions. I mean, they've always been, they've always been present, but now they're super heightened, and so many different leaders in our community stepping up and taking charge and doing their part. And I do see something that is very disturbing and even heartbreaking to me, just a lot of division with the Black leaders of our community. And I wish I could just go around to everyone and say, hey, shut up, white people can hear you. But, this is not the case. How does that make you feel? I mean, I know you've had situations with other brothers and stuff, and we don't have to get into all of that. But do you feel compelled to just sometimes step back and say, you know what, we need to focus on the real enemy?
Yes, I do. And that's a very good question. And it's a loaded question. I'm going to unpack it a little bit. You mentioned leaders. And I would challenge all of us to be a little bit more specific with the titles that we give people. We have a lot of spokespersons in the Black community. I wouldn't say we have a lot of leaders. We have a lot, and on the mainstream level, we have a lot of national Black leaders who are not leading us anywhere. They're not leaders, they're spokespersons. They represent a particular reality, but they don't necessarily have a plan, nor do they have anything implemented to advance Black people from where they are to where they want to be. I'm not talking about the speeches. I'm not talking about the plans on paper, but I mean, you are actually moving us, or a contingency of us, from point A to point B. We don't have a lot of that. We have spokespersons. And on the mainstream level, Queen, when we deal with the Congressional Black Caucus, when we deal with the National Urban League, when we deal with the NAACP, when we deal with the Black clergy, you're dealing with not leaders or really spokespersons. You are dealing with power brokers whose job is to broker deals between the Black underclass and the white overclass. So they don't really change or transform anything for the Black community. They simply broker deals. In other words, they bring us crumbs in exchange for concessions that are far more valuable than the crumbs that we were given. I'll give you an example. Right now, members of the Congressional Black Caucus, the Black celebrity class, Black clergy, Black businessmen, they're brokering a deal right now for the Democratic Party to get as many Black people out as possible to vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That's what I mean by brokering deals. You haven't asked them to do anything about the schools. You haven't asked them to do anything about the criminal injustice laws. You haven't asked them to do anything about the economic castration and disadvantages of Black people. You haven't touched genocide or gentrification or any of that. You're simply getting Black people out to vote for no platform or agenda whatsoever in exchange for some crumbs that will come to you by virtue of serving the agenda of the Democratic Party. That's what I mean, Black spokespersons or Black power brokers, negotiators, posing as leaders.
Okay.
Facto.
And for the record, and this is my Marcus Garvey bias, this is my Pan-African nationalist bias, for me, you cannot be a leader if you're not economically and politically independent. If you work for white people, you cannot be a genuine leader for Black people. Now, that sounds like common sense because a man cannot serve two masters, right? So you can't work for the European, but claim to be about the business of liberating the African. But if you write down your top 10, 20 most popular Black leaders in America, all but maybe one or two are economically dependent on a European power structure.